Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars have had a wild season, to put it lightly. I mean, these guys went from like 2-6 in the first half of the season to 7-8 with 2 weeks left. I mean, talk about a comeback greater than Meg Thee Stallion in that court case. I really thought Tory Lanez was going to walk free. But anyway, this massive turnaround in the ability to win is in large thanks to the offensive explosion that's taken place over these last few weeks. Trevor Lawrence has been on fire ever since the Week 12 game versus the Baltimore Ravens, in which he threw for 3 touchdowns. And I'd say this game was the beginning of a shift for how the Jaguars were playing. I mean, the game versus the Ravens was Trevor Lawrence's best passing game at the time, with Lawrence having 321 passing yards on nearly 80% completion percentage. And since that fateful night, Jacksonville has only dropped 1 game. And sure, it was pretty ugly, but that was more on the defensive side than anything. If you don't know what I'm referring to, well, the loss I'm talking about is a 40-14 blowout that happened when the Jags went head-to-head with Detroit. And Trevor didn't have a single turnover that game. I'm talking 0 interceptions, 0 fumbles, absolutely nothing. Now, the reason the Lions got 40 points was because Detroit scored on what felt like every possession. Oh wait, it was every possession. But I say all of that to say that Trevor has been on his A game these last 2 months. And he's playing like he's well deserved to be the number 1 pick, which is fantastic. Because year after year, no matter the sport, you see highly drafted athletes get selected only to disappoint and not live up to expectations. Which is why Lawrence's success has been so amazing to watch. In fact, the game he played against Tennessee is arguably his best so far, like all around. I mean, Lawrence absolutely killed it. The dude had a solid little 70% completion percentage with 368 passing yards, and I want to emphasize that fact because that's the most he's had in a single game, at least this season. Plus, he threw TDs for how many rings Braun should have got in Miami. Not 1, not 2, but 3. My favorite of those 3 passing TDs would have to be a 20-yard TD pass to Zay Jones in the second quarter. Talk about a beauty. And not only did he pass for TDs, but Lawrence also had a sneaky little QB run for a yard, which only inflates to how great he was in this game. And the truth is that everyone's success does come with even just a pinch of luck. And in the case of Jacksonville, I'd say it's been more than just a pinch. And look, when I talk about the Jaguars being lucky, I'm not trying to discredit the Jaguars' success. I'm just trying to point out the fact that the Jags went from having very low to super high odds of making the playoffs in a matter of weeks. In fact, they're in the playoffs at the moment of this video being recorded. For example, I think it's fair to say that the Jaguars' win versus the Cowboys was, well, extremely lucky. I mean, the Cowboys were heavy favorites entering the game, and according to ESPN, the Jags had like an 80% chance of losing going into the game. And just think about it, okay? The Cowboys were 10-3 going into the game against a 5-8 Jacksonville Jaguar team, and who could have projected the type of game that Lawrence had? Lawrence arguably had one of his top 3 performances of all time in the NFL, with 4 passing touchdowns and 300 plus passing yards in a game. And if you didn't see it, the game was not one-sided by any means. Talk about a back and forth for the ages. Let's really get into this game because I think it's a great example of Lawrence's ability to ball out and be resilient. For starters, by halftime, the Cowboys got into a strong and commanding lead of 21-7. But Trevor saw this deficit and said, "Hold my beer," as Lawrence led the Jaguars to 21 unanswered points on 3 straight touchdowns. And he brought the Jags from being down 10-27 to being up 31-27, with 2 of the TD passes being to Zay Jones. So if you're a fantasy owner, think about picking that dude up for your championship game. And of course, the Cowboys took the lead back, but Lawrence didn't back down, and he led his team down the field with less than 2 minutes to tie the game. And yeah, the Jags struggled in OT with the team punting the ball before getting a single first down, but honestly, I'd blame the O-line, who got a false start on that drive, setting them back. And then the miracle happens. Some would say it was quite, lucky, but it did happen, which was a 52-yard Rayshon Jenkins interception for a touchdown. Talk about a story. Anyway, this would lead to a key Week 16 matchup versus the Jets that was going to decide Jacksonville's future. And honestly, the game was a bit of a letdown, excitement-wise, because there wasn't a whole lot of touchdowns being scored, but Lawrence still found a way to shine. with Trevor having a solid completion percentage throughout the game, but more importantly was Lawrence's rushing TD in the second quarter to separate them from the Jets. And Jacksonville also won the game because the Jets had, well, basically an anchor at QB who made it harder for them to win the game. Yes, I'm talking about Zach Wilson. And after this fantastic little journey, the Jags have found themselves in a position to steal a playoff spot. And I say steal because the team doesn't really have a good record. The only reason they're in the playoffs is because they're leading a weak-ass division. Shout out Tom Brady. With the record of 7-8, all these guys need to do to guarantee their ticket to the postseason is win out. So I think it's fair to say that their fate is in their hands. And their next match is against the worst team in the NFL. I mean, the Texans are hot trash right now, so I think it's fair to say that they'll win the game. But even if the Jags somehow manage to fumble the bag versus the Texans, it won't matter as long as they can beat the Titans in Week 18, who have the same record as the Jags right now, but are heading in the exact opposite direction, which, crazy. Anyway, I'd say it's pretty clear what Jacksonville's path to the playoffs is, and if they do get in there, then they'll definitely make some noise, probably win a playoff game. And as of right now, they're set to play the 5th seed, and I think no matter who it is, they'll put up a good fight, I mean, the Jags are just hot at the right time. Well, that's about it for the video, and if you're still here, think about subscribing to the channel and liking the video, yeah? Get me to 400? Yeah, I think it was at 400. Yeah, 400. Alright, deuces.